Known for IKEA and picture-perfect cities, Sweden seems like the model of modern calm. But beneath the surface lies a world of stunning women and love traditions that will completely defy your expectations. What really goes on in the land of ice and beauty? Stick around. What you're about to learn might shock you. In the northern part of Europe lies a remarkable country that offers a unique blend of modern innovation and natural beauty. This country is Sweden, which has a population of about 10.4 million people. It is a nation with much of its land covered by forests and thousands of lakes. Sweden shares borders with Norway to the west, Finland to the east, and is connected to Denmark via a bridge in the southwest. Despite being one of the largest countries in Northern Europe at 450,295 square kilometers, Sweden plays a significant role in world politics, business, and culture. The capital is the vibrant city of Stockholm. Located in the eastern part of the country, Stockholm is the first stop for most people visiting Sweden. The city is famous for being built across 14 islands that form an archipelago in the Baltic Sea. These islands are connected by 57 bridges and create a unique urban landscape where water and land intertwine. From above, Stockholm looks like a collection of green islands set against blue water, with colorful buildings and elegant spires rising above the tree line. Life in Stockholm revolves around its different districts, each with its own feel. The historic Gamla stan, or Old Town, has cobblestone streets and medieval buildings that house museums, cafes, and shops. Södermalm, once a working-class area, is now the trendy hipster district with vintage stores and cool bars. Östermalm features upscale shopping and elegant parks, while Norrmalm contains the modern city center with businesses and shopping. You can easily travel between these areas using the city's excellent public transportation system or by doing what many locals do, walking or cycling. Sweden is famous for its public transportation. Unlike many countries where car ownership is essential, Swedish cities offer comprehensive networks of buses, trams, and trains that make owning a vehicle optional for many residents. In Stockholm, the tunnelbana metro system is known as the world's longest art gallery because nearly every station features unique artistic installations. The system has 3 main lines color-coded as blue, red, and green, making navigation intuitive even for visitors. Trains run frequently from early morning until around 1 a.m., with night buses taking over during the few hours when the metro is closed. The public transportation is clean, efficient, and remarkably punctual, reflecting Swedish values of reliability and order. Getting around Sweden by train is simple and convenient. The National Rail Company, SJ, connects major cities with modern, comfortable trains. The high-speed X2000 trains can reach speeds of 200 kilometers per hour, making the journey from Stockholm to Gothenburg, Sweden's second-largest city, in just 3 hours. Train tickets are best purchased in advance, with prices varying based on how early you book. A one-way ticket from Stockholm to Gothenburg typically costs between 195 to 695 Swedish kroner, or $19 to $67, depending on timing and class. For comparison, entry-level service jobs in Sweden typically pay around 125 to 150 kroner, or $12 to $14 per hour, making train travel reasonably affordable for most people. As you travel by train between cities, you'll notice the well-preserved historical buildings in Swedish cities that showcase the country's rich past and careful urban planning. In Stockholm's Gamla stan, buildings dating back to the 13th century stand in remarkably good condition, their facades painted in traditional ochre, rust red, and mustard yellow. Swedish architecture ranges from medieval stone churches to wooden cottages painted in the iconic Falun red to innovative modern designs. A distinctive feature of Swedish homes is their large windows, designed to maximize natural light during the long, dark winter months. These windows are often left uncurtained, reflecting the Swedish value of transparency and the concept that one has nothing to hide. These historical buildings tell the story of how Sweden, as we know it today, began to take shape many centuries ago. The Viking Age around 800 to 1050 AD saw Norsemen voyaging from Swedish shores across Europe. In the 17th century, Sweden became a European power under King Gustavus Adolphus. After the Napoleonic Wars, Sweden adopted a neutrality policy it has kept for over 200 years, avoiding both world wars. This long peace helped Sweden build one of the world's most progressive societies. Today, Sweden is a constitutional monarchy with King Carl XVI Gustaf as head of state, though real power lies with the elected parliament and prime minister. It joined the EU in 1995 but kept its own currency, the Swedish krona. This peaceful development has allowed Sweden to focus on innovation and business rather than conflicts. As a result, Sweden has given the world some of its most recognized global brands. You've certainly heard of IKEA, the furniture giant that revolutionized home furnishing with its flat-pack designs and Swedish minimalist aesthetic. Founded in 1943 by Ingvar Kamprad, whose initials form part of the company name, IKEA has become synonymous with Swedish practicality and design sensibility. When you visit any IKEA store worldwide, you're experiencing a little piece of Swedish culture. From the blue and yellow colors representing the Swedish flag to the traditional meatballs served in their restaurants. Another Swedish brand you probably use daily is Spotify, the world's leading music streaming platform. Founded in Stockholm in 2006, Spotify revolutionized how people consume music globally. On the roads, you'll spot many Volvos, the car brand that has become internationally famous for safety innovations. If you've ever worn clothes from H&M or its sister brands like COS or And Other Stories, you've experienced another Swedish global success story. These brands reflect Swedish values of quality, functionality, and accessible design that has conquered world markets. But Sweden's most beautiful export isn't something you can buy in stores. What will immediately catch your eye in Sweden is the remarkable beauty of Swedish women. Tall, naturally blonde with striking blue eyes and athletic builds, they have a distinctive Nordic look unlike anywhere else. Swedes are among the tallest people in the world, and you'll notice how their height, combined with an active lifestyle and healthy diet, gives Swedish women a natural elegance and presence. You'll see that Swedish women typically wear minimal makeup and favor a clean, simple style that emphasizes natural beauty over artificial enhancement. You'll be shocked to discover that Swedish women often make the first move when dating. There's no rule that men should ask women out, pay for dates, or lead the relationship. This is because Sweden believes strongly in equality between men and women. For you as a foreign visitor, this can be both refreshing and confusing. Swedish women will clearly show interest, rather than playing hard to get or using subtle hints. Even more shocking is Sweden's widespread nullkompis culture, which simply means sex friend. This refers to how normal it is for Swedes to have relationships just for physical intimacy without romance or commitment. Unlike secret hookups in other countries, these arrangements in Sweden are often open and honest, with no shame attached. It's common for Swedes to have these relationships for years, sometimes alongside more serious partnerships, and everyone in their social circle knows about it. What really surprises foreigners is that these arrangements can exist between people who work together or share the same friends, without the drama you'd expect elsewhere. What truly shocks many visitors is the Swedish tradition of serbo relationships, serious couples who choose to live in separate homes indefinitely. Unlike most places where moving in together is an expected step in a serious relationship, many Swedish couples keep their own apartments for years or even decades, sometimes even after having children together. They might spend several nights a week together, but insist on having their own space to return to. This practice, which would seem strange or even wrong in many countries, is seen as perfectly normal in Sweden, a way to keep your independence while still being in a committed relationship. Even more surprising for visitors is how normal family saunas are in Sweden. Swedish families, including grandparents, cousins, neighbors, and friends, regularly gather completely disrobed in saunas as a normal social activity from early childhood through adulthood. Unlike most countries where nudity is sexual or private, Swedes view clothless bodies in saunas as completely non-sexual and natural. Kids grow up seeing bodies of all ages without shame. Foreign visitors are often shocked when invited to join family sauna sessions, not realizing that saying no might seem stranger to their Swedish hosts than saying yes. This comfort with being unclad together shows how Swedes see bodies as natural, rather than something to be ashamed of or necessarily sexual. Ever wonder what happens behind closed doors at Swedish dinner parties? You might be shocked to learn that many Swedish couples openly swap partners. It's true. Partner swapping is surprisingly accepted in Sweden. Well-organized groups exist throughout the country, especially in suburban areas, where committed couples meet to exchange partners. These communities operate openly and without secrecy. Unlike the hidden nature of similar activities in other countries, Swedish partner swapping gatherings can be advertised openly and discussed freely among participants. What really surprises foreigners is that these activities aren't just for young alternative people, but include respected professionals and even older couples who have been together for decades. The Swedish approach focuses on consent, communication, and emotional maturity, with many participants seeing these experiences as ways to strengthen rather than harm their main relationships. Another tradition that shocks visitors is how Swedish couples make detailed relationship contracts. These go far beyond prenuptial agreements in other countries, spelling out everything from how often they'll have sex to who does which household chores, how they'll handle money, and even how they should solve arguments. Many Swedish couples create these agreements early in their relationships and update them regularly as things change. While such specific arrangements might seem unromantic or too businesslike to outsiders, Swedes see them as practical tools that actually improve intimacy by ensuring clear communication and preventing misunderstandings. If you plan to visit Sweden, it's good to know some practical things about Swedish society. For example, Sweden is rapidly becoming a cashless society, with many businesses no longer accepting physical currency at all. Credit and debit cards are accepted virtually everywhere, including for small purchases like coffee or a bus ticket. Mobile payment apps, particularly Swish, are ubiquitous among Swedes for person-to-person transactions. Alongside payment considerations, it's also important to note that Sweden's weather varies dramatically by season. Winter brings short days with as little as 6 hours of daylight in Stockholm and temperatures that regularly drop below freezing. Summer offers the opposite extreme, with long, mild days. In Stockholm, summer daylight lasts about 18 hours, while in the far north, the sun doesn't set at all for several weeks around the summer solstice. Spring and fall are transitional seasons with highly variable conditions. While Sweden embraces modern technology like cashless payments, the country still maintains deep connections to its past. Sweden is a land rich in folklore and mythical creatures. As you travel through Swedish forests, you might feel the presence of the many beings that populate Swedish legends. The most famous are perhaps the trolls, not the internet variety, but the large, sometimes mountain-sized creatures said to turn to stone in sunlight. Many unusual rock formations across the countryside are explained as trolls caught by the morning sun. In Swedish homes, many still hold a special place for the tomte, a house spirit resembling a small elderly man with a full beard and pointed cap. Traditional belief holds that the tomte watches over a homestead and protects it and its inhabitants as long as they treat him with respect. During Christmas, this figure evolved into the jultomte, who brings gifts similar to Santa Claus. Even in today's modern secular Sweden, these folk beliefs linger in cultural traditions and decorative elements you'll spot in many Swedish homes. This blend of modern practicality and traditional values is reflected in Sweden's economic structure as well. As of recent data, Sweden has one of the highest standards of living in the world, reflected in both wages and costs. Sweden doesn't have a national minimum wage, relying instead on collective bargaining agreements. But even entry-level service jobs typically pay at least 125 to 150 kroner, or $12 to $14 per hour. Professional salaries are correspondingly high, with office workers generally earning 30,000 to 40,000 kroner, or $2,900 to $3,900 per month, and specialists in fields like IT, engineering, or medicine earning significantly more. Income taxes are progressive and relatively high, ranging from about 30% for lower incomes to over 55% for top earners. These taxes fund Sweden's comprehensive welfare state, which includes universal health care, free education through university level, generous parental leave, and robust social safety nets. The cost of living in Sweden reflects these high salaries. Housing is particularly expensive in major cities, with a one-bedroom apartment in central Stockholm typically renting for 9,000 to 12,000 kroner, or $870 to $1,150 per month. Food costs are also relatively high, with a basic lunch at a casual restaurant running about 100 to 120 kroner, or $10 to $12, and a dinner for two at a mid-range restaurant, easily reaching 700 to 800 kroner, or $70 to $80 without alcohol. Groceries for one person generally cost around 3,000 kroner, or $290 monthly. Public transportation is efficient but not cheap. A monthly pass in Stockholm costs about 950 kroner, or $92. Despite the cost of living, it surprises most international visitors that Swedish society has a huge number of people living alone. Sweden has the highest rate of single-person households in Europe and maybe the world, with about 51% of all homes having just one person. In Stockholm, this goes up to nearly 60%. Being single isn't seen as a problem or just a phase, but as a lifestyle choice that shows Swedish values of independence and self-sufficiency. Many Swedes, both men and women, stay single well into their 30s or longer, focusing on education, career, and personal interests before thinking about long-term relationships. If they ever do, this happens partly because Sweden's welfare system means people don't need a partner for financial security or practical help. Good wages, generous benefits for single parents, and affordable childcare make it completely possible to live comfortably and even raise children without a partner. The Swedish idea of lagom, meaning just the right amount, also plays a role, encouraging people to only pursue relationships that truly make their lives better, rather than rushing into partnerships just to meet society's expectations or timelines. Sweden's approach to work-life balance is another aspect that often shocks visitors, particularly those from countries with more demanding work cultures. The Swedish workday typically runs from around 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., with most people leaving promptly at the end of their scheduled hours. Working overtime is neither expected nor particularly admired. Efficiency during regular hours is valued over long days. Vacation time is generous and sacred, with a minimum of 25 paid days annually that employees are actively encouraged to use. During summer, particularly July, much of the country essentially shuts down, as Swedes take 3 to 4 consecutive weeks off, often at summer cottages in the countryside or on the coast. This emphasis on workplace equality and well-being is perhaps best illustrated by the Swedish concept of fika, which goes beyond a simple coffee break to become an important cultural institution. These regularly scheduled breaks, typically occurring mid-morning and mid-afternoon, are times when colleagues gather to share coffee and often something sweet, like a cinnamon bun or cookie. Far from being seen as unproductive time, fika is recognized as valuable for building team cohesion, sharing information informally, and providing mental rest that improves overall productivity. Many Swedish companies actually mandate these breaks, considering them essential to a healthy work environment. But what do Swedes actually eat at home? The importance of food and drink in Swedish culture extends well beyond the workplace fika tradition. Swedish food culture reflects the country's geography and values, with traditional dishes featuring ingredients readily available in the Nordic environment. Fish, berries, mushrooms, and root vegetables form the foundation of many classic recipes. Iconic foods include köttbullar, meatballs served with lingonberry jam and cream sauce, gravlax, cured salmon, and smörgåsbord, a buffet-style meal featuring multiple cold and hot dishes. Open-faced sandwiches on dark rye bread are common for lunch, while dinner tends to be a hot meal eaten relatively early by Southern European standards, usually between 6 to 7 p.m. The centerpiece of Swedish culinary culture, however, is undoubtedly coffee. Coffee consumption in Sweden is among the highest in the world per capita, with the average Swede consuming the equivalent of 3 to 4 cups daily. Swedish coffee tends to be brewed stronger than in many countries and is often served black or with just a touch of milk. Popular accompaniments include kanelbullar, cinnamon buns, kardemommabullar, cardamom buns, or kladdkaka, sticky chocolate cake. While food and coffee bring Swedes together indoors, the country's natural landscapes draw them outside throughout the year. Sweden's varying geography includes archipelagos with thousands of islands, dense forests covering much of the land, mountains in the northwest bordering Norway, and countless lakes and rivers throughout. Perhaps most remarkable is the Swedish concept of allemansrätten, right of public access, which allows everyone to roam freely in nature, even on privately owned land, as long as they don't disturb or destroy. This freedom to explore forests, camp nearly anywhere, pick berries and mushrooms, and swim in lakes and seas creates a profound connection between Swedes and their natural environment. This natural beauty attracts not only locals, but visitors from around the world. The largest tourist demographic visiting Sweden comes from neighboring Norway, followed by Germany and Denmark. In tourist areas of Stockholm, particularly around Gamla stan and the Royal Palace, you can easily spot groups of visitors from these countries, along with British, American, and increasingly Chinese and Japanese tourists. Cruise ships regularly dock in Stockholm and Gothenburg during summer months, bringing thousands of day visitors from across Europe. For first-time visitors in Stockholm, one must-visit location is the Vasa Museum to see a perfectly preserved 17th-century warship with an incredible story. The massive Vasa ship sank on its maiden voyage in 1628, just 1,300 meters into its journey. The king had demanded too many cannons on the upper decks, making the ship top-heavy and unstable. After 333 years underwater, it was salvaged in 1961 in remarkably good condition due to the Baltic Sea's brackish water, which prevented wood-eating organisms from destroying it. Today, you can walk around this massive vessel and marvel at its ornately carved decorations, gaining insight into both Swedish naval history and the enormous ego of King Gustav II Adolf that led to its sinking. Another must-see landmark is Stockholm's City Hall, where Nobel Prize banquets are held annually. The building's tower offers spectacular views of the city, but the real treasure lies inside. The Golden Hall, decorated with over 18 million gold mosaic pieces depicting scenes from Swedish history. When you step inside this room, you'll understand why it's one of Sweden's most photographed interiors. Another strange Swedish attraction is the Ice Hotel in Jukkasjärvi, 200 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. Each winter, artists from around the world create this hotel entirely from ice and snow harvested from the nearby Torne River. You can actually sleep in rooms where the beds, walls, and even glasses in the bar are made of ice. Each spring, the hotel melts back into the river, only to be recreated the following winter with all new designs. If you're brave enough to stay overnight, you'll sleep in a -5°C room on an ice bed covered with reindeer skins, experiencing a night unlike any other hotel in the world. For a more permanent but equally unique experience, you can visit the Tree Hotel in Harrods, where architectural masterpieces are suspended among pine trees. The most photographed room is the Mirror Cube, a box covered in reflective glass that almost disappears into the forest. Other rooms include a UFO, a bird's nest, and a cabin that appears to float in mid-air. These innovative designs showcase Sweden's cutting-edge architecture while allowing you to connect with nature in extraordinary ways. After exploring these fascinating sights, many visitors enjoy relaxing at one of Stockholm's waterfront restaurants or cafes, where Swedish beer and traditional food can be sampled with views of the city's beautiful waterways. Speaking of Swedish beer, the country has developed a thriving craft beer scene, with small breweries operating throughout the country producing innovative and high-quality brews. Traditional Swedish beers tend to be light lagers, but the craft movement has introduced a wide variety of styles, from rich stouts to hoppy IPAs and sour beers. Swedish distilleries are also gaining international recognition for their whiskey, gin, and aquavit production. Aquavit, a traditional Scandinavian spirit flavored with caraway and other herbs, is particularly associated with holiday celebrations like Christmas and Midsummer. Beer typically costs between 65 to 85 kroner or $6 to $8 for a 0.04-liter glass in bars and restaurants, slightly higher than in many European countries due to alcohol taxes. We hope you enjoyed this video. Tap the screen to watch more content like this. Goodbye.